Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters, friends, guests, and I won't say old friends, but friends from many years back. My purpose at this time is to introduce to you one of our oldest and personal friends that we've had for many, many years, and someone who I personally introduced to Toastmasters. He and I met about 28 years ago at a banquet that was surrounded by airplanes at Piedmont Aviation at Norfolk Airport. It happened to be an opera, the Virginia Opera fundraiser that they had in the hangar of Piedmont Aviation. He was at our table, and we discovered that we both loved flying. He was a naval pilot, flew carriers, and I was still flying. And from that point on, we became great and personal friends. As a matter of fact, we had a very interesting little experience. We became such good friends. I said one time, let's fly up to Buffalo, New York. And this will attest to his skill and his ability to be calm in a crisis situation. We were approaching Buffalo Airport when there was a big jet behind us. A jet in front of us had just landed. The tower had cleared me to land. I pulled the switch to lower the landing gear when all hell broke loose. Every light started to flash. The landing gear went halfway down and stuck. The communications were out. Skip hadn't flown in 20 years, and he was sitting on my right. I had no autopilot. So I just turned to Skip. I said, Skip, remember what you can, but you fly the airplane while I try to manually wind down the landing gear. In that moment, I remembered that I always carried a little portable radio, and I was ready to get rid of the portable radio because for many years I said, what do I carry? I never have to use it. Well, on this day, I had to use it. Pulled out the radio, called the tower, and said we were having a little problem. And we flew up over the Lake Erie, and went around for a few times to figure out what the problem was. There's an Air Force base up there. We flew by the tower of the Air Force base and asked them to put their binoculars on us to determine if our landing gear was down or not. And the guy confirmed that our landing gear was down. We circled around and landed safely. But Skip flew the airplane during this crisis, hadn't done it in 20 years, still remains a very calm, cool, collected guy, and it's my pleasure to introduce to you my friend Skip Goode.
Well, I don't see any red, yellow, and green lights, so you're in trouble. You know, Jack introduced me to Toastmasters so many years ago, and I approached that invitation with some degree of serendipity, because in my career I had done a lot of public speaking, spoke around the state of Virginia, headed up some substantial entities in town such as the Medicine Museum. Public speaking was not a stranger. So when he said, come on down to Toastmasters, you'll enjoy it. Well, as you know, serendipity is a situation where you find things that perhaps you don't expect to find. And in some cases, it could be a happy accident. And because we do have this challenge during our regular Toastmaster meetings, Wordmaster, serendipity, I happen to always be on the alert for those kind of things. And this morning's paper, front page article, a prime example of serendipity. The Pfizer drug company, you've all heard of Pfizer, that's a company I've lost a lot of money in. In 1992, looking for a drug that would help a heart condition, discovered that this pill they developed, which they ultimately called Viagra, helped in another way. That's serendipity. Does everybody know what Viagra is? Now perhaps I have a more vivid comparison that you might enjoy. You know, back in Chicago, this country has a history of having some colorful characters. One who was not only colorful, he was really bad. His name was Al Capone. Everybody ever heard of Al Capone?
Oh yeah.
Al Capone was one of our more vicious gangsters in the city of Chicago. He did terrible things there. He never went to prison. Why was that? Well, he had an attorney who was really talented. This guy got him off all the time. His name was Easy Eddie. Easy Eddie got Al Capone acquitted of all the charges he ever faced. And for that, Al Capone and the mob made Easy Eddie a very wealthy man. And he lived in a gated community. He had the best things. He seemed to have a blind eye to whatever Al Capone and his cronies were doing. Now, Easy Eddie had a soft spot. Although he didn't pay attention to what Al Capone was doing, he had a son. And he wanted his son to be proud of him. But he had nothing to turn over to his son because of all the nonsense that he was involved in. So one year, he decided he's got to leave his son with a good reputation. And he went to the district attorney and said he would testify against the mob. Well, he did testify against the mob, and a lot of bad things happened to the mob. But you know, very short time after that, a very bad thing happened to Easy Eddie. He got killed. Well, in the meantime, there's another story that follows him. And that story has to take place in World War II, which was the era immediately following the era in which Al Capone had his day. There was a Navy pilot named Butch O'Hare. Jack probably remembers him. Jack O'Hare was a lieutenant commander, flew in a fighter squadron. And one day his squadron was sent off on a mission, and on the way he discovered they'd forgotten to load his plane with all the fuel that it should have had. And the leader of the squadron told him to go back to the ship. On the way back to the ship, Butch discovered a formation of enemy planes going towards the carrier, and he didn't know what to do. He couldn't get back to his squadron leader, and he couldn't notify the ship. So he proceeded, one plane, attacked this formation of enemy planes. And in the process of breaking up the formation, he shot down 5 airplanes. And when he ran out of bullets, he ran amok in the formation, trying to clip their wings or hit them with his prop, trying to break. Meantime, the enemy formation, the guys there, they said, "This guy's Meshuggah, let's go home." And they left. So he got back to his ship, landed on the ship, and of course the gun camera film in his plane verified everything that he had accomplished on that mission. Butch O'Hare received the Medal of Honor for that mission. He was the first naval aviator to receive the Medal of Honor in World War II. He was the first Navy ace, which means the fellow who shot down 5 planes. Unfortunately, a year later, Butch O'Hare was shot down himself and lost at sea. But the city of Chicago didn't want to lose their hero, so they named every airport after him O'Hare International Airport. So if you ever are in O'Hare International Airport, between terminals 1 and 2, is a statue of Butch O'Hare with his Medal of Honor. Now, what's the connection between these two stories? I'll tell you what the connection is. Butch O'Hare was Easy Eddie's son. Now, that's a case of an unexpected end. And I can tell you myself, the many Toastmaster meetings I've attended, I've had many unexpected but happy endings. I've learned a lot, and I can only hope that you enjoy the experiences that I've